this lost advanced civilization, is it possible that they were clearly advanced in many different ways, and maybe ways that we don't even understand, which seems likely to me? Is it possible that some of them survived? Is there descendants of that civilization still around today? Or
first of all, I don't think we should be looking for a genetic signal of that civilization.
Okay.
Because I think that civilization was not confined to one particular ethnic group. I think it was much more widespread than that. The myths and traditions of the whole world speak of an enormous cataclysm and the destruction of a civilization, and that there were survivors of that civilization. But what they passed on primarily was knowledge, not genes. So we're not going to find a genetic answer to this point.
What about technology?
Yes, the knowledge included certain kinds of technology.
Is it possible? So one of my theories is big topics of humanity right now is the UFO question. Mm-hmm. And obviously everybody's just based on, kind of what we're programmed to think is like, these are aliens, these are extraterrestrial visitors. I sometimes believe that what if they are humans in some way, shape, or form, whether they've been here for a very, very long time and somehow survived in complete secrecy. I mean, we don't know what's fully under Antarctica. We don't know where did they go inside the earth after this cataclysm and survive somehow and continue to advance.
I think an open mind is really important in connection with a phenomenon like the UFO and ET contact, or what is construed as ET contact. As I mentioned in the previous discussion, in deeply altered states of consciousness, there are, and I've had these experiences myself, there are repeated reports of contacts with entities, often wise and teaching entities, and sometimes cruel entities, who were seen in the Middle Ages as fairies and elves, who shamans see as spirits, and the world they dwell in is the spirit world, not fairyland. And today they're construed as aliens who've come here in high-tech flying saucers or spacecraft or whatever from other planets. But it's the same phenomenon all the way down the line. And interestingly, before he passed away, I had the opportunity to talk to the ayahuasca artist and shaman Pablo Amaringo. And Pablo, in his paintings of his ayahuasca visions, frequently paints flying saucers. And I asked him what that was about. I said, what are these things? And where are they in your paintings? And are they beings coming here from other planets in high-tech vehicles? And he said, no, not from other planets. He said, those vehicles are vehicles for entering and leaving the spirit world.
Oh, interesting.
And when a shaman speaks of a spirit world, he's pretty close to a quantum physicist speaking of a parallel dimension. So the explanation I'm drawn to most of all is interdimensional contact. And that's why we need to take this serious. Do you know the great psychologist Jung wrote a book about flying saucers? He was interested in archetypes, and he viewed flying saucers in that light back in the 1950s. But then he said one thing. He said that the occasionally a flying saucer shows up on a radar screen. There's a trace on a radar screen.
Right.
And then he said, when I consider that, a bottomless abyss opens at my feet. That these are, in some way, these are physical objects.
Right.
And I think that the honest answer is we don't know what they are. But we cannot sneer at and dismiss people's experiences of encounters with these objects. And again, there may be a great deal that we have to learn from shamanism in this regard.
Yeah, well, there's a number of individuals out there who tie consciousness to interacting with these beings, that
whatever they are.
Yeah. That there's, and just from stories going back to Roswell. I mean, then there's the Rendlesham Forest incident where these craft have glyphs and different things that tie back to ancient civilizations is very interesting to me. Yeah. And
my position is I haven't needed aliens.
Yeah, right.
Who crossed interstellar space in high-tech vehicles, who managed to maneuver their way, navigate their way to this beautiful blue dot of a planet, and then built the Great Pyramid. I don't need aliens for that. I need a human civilization that had higher abilities than those that archaeologists are presently prepared to attribute to ancient human civilization. I think that we do see tiny measure of human error in the Great Pyramids, slightly off alignment to true north. 3/60th of a single degree is a tiny error, but it is an error. And if you can cross interstellar space,
you're not making this.
And find Earth, and your project is to build a pyramid, and you want to align to true north, you're not going to make that mistake. So I felt, in terms of looking at the anomalies of the past, that I just didn't need to invoke aliens in order to explain them. It was a more interesting inquiry to follow, that we could be a species with amnesia, that there could be a missing chapter in the human story which would answer all of these questions. But is the universe full of life? I can't prove it, but I'm certain it is. I think that's what the universe is for. Yeah. I think that all these planets orbiting distant stars, vast distances away from us, the whole universe is a theater for life, not just planet Earth. And while I don't need them to explain the Great Pyramid, there are many mysteries, including the mysteries of consciousness and the contacts with entities that are experienced in deeply altered states of consciousness, which should require us to think much further and much deeper, and never write these things off as simple nonsense.
So you don't believe there's a chance that the gods that these ancient cultures held in such high regard and claim they received information from were necessarily extraterrestrial in origin? No, that they were just normal humans, that they kind of
may have been normal humans who are deified, but may equally well be entities encountered in vision.
Oh, interesting.
As well.
Or maybe higher consciousness.
After all, I mean, where does take the case of Moses at the burning bush? I mean, there's Moses. He's on Mount Sinai, or he's in Sinai somewhere, and here's the burning bush, and the voice of God speaks to him. Well, that's a classic altered state of consciousness experience that he's having. There's even a suggestion that the bush was an acacia bush,
right,
which contains DMT. Maybe he was inhaling
tripping.
DMT. Maybe he was tripping.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to turn out that all of our religions have, if you go back to their remotest origins, you'll find that their origins are in shamanism and are in altered states of consciousness. And that what happened was that then bureaucracy got involved with the religions, and they kicked out the shamans, and they imposed these officials to interpret spiritual issues to us. And that was when the rot set in to all the world's big monotheistic faiths, at any rate. But I think the root and ground of it is shamanistic experience. Shamanism is at the root of everything that matters with human beings, whether it's religion or whether it's civilization.
It makes you wonder if, like, Jesus was a shaman, or...
Of course he was.
Yeah,
yes,
like, it's all of these prophets. And
there are individuals who have these special abilities to integrate with other realms, with realms beyond, and often they are teachers. Interestingly, the Gnostics never saw the figure of Jesus as divine. They never saw him as a god or the son of God. That idea was actually quite obnoxious to them. They saw him as a human being who was a teacher.